So I want to start a web series, well, not a web series, vlogs about webcomics, and well, basically I can't exactly give you any spoilers, so well, that would be hard. So basically I have started writing my comic. Well, this wasn't actually a comic at first. It was basically, I was writing a novel, and at the age of, I think, 13, so it evolved countless of times. I had changed, well, I think it changed about 5 to 7 times over the past years. I guess I always went to about chapter 12 and then started the whole thing over again. I guess once you get older, well, when you're getting older and you reread what you have written, you start seeing countless of mistakes and, well, possibilities of how it would have gone if you had the current knowledge that you have. Basically, you would change a lot of these. So I had transformed this into a comic, and it was inspired. I was watching a lot of Supernatural, and also what was I watching back then? Oh, Ghost Whisperer. So lots of ghosts, creatures like werewolves and vampires, and a bit of horror, and but I tried not to do a lot of horror because I was aiming for a younger audience. I was aiming for, I think, teens, late teens, so not that young, so I could use a bit of mature content, and the story could have a bit of what was the word? I have no idea. If I remember, I'll come and say it, but whatever. So I have transformed this into a comic, and I think it was the first comic that I did. Where was it? Here it is. So I had transformed it into this comic. So this one. I had lots of covers before this one. This was basically my first attempt to do a comic. I had begun extracting bits and pieces of what I have previously written as a novel, and my first mistake of doing this was I didn't convert the actual script into a script for a comic, and I had also changed my styles over and over throughout this comic, and I think I stopped at chapter 2 as well. Oh, and you can read it at Tamaytka. I have a sketchbook series, and one of the episodes features this whole bit. I had also really don't like this typeface. The L's and A's just squished together. They look like O's. God, this changes drastically. So here's where the style changes god, look at that. Wow. I began using black and white, and well, the thing it was, I started a new comic when I was about in chapter 2. I started a new comic and it was so time consuming that I forgot all about this, and I began posting one page every, I think, 1.5 months. Yeah, I guess so. Every 6 weeks I began posting these, and then I just stopped and said nothing about doing anything. Then I think it was about another 6 weeks had gone by, and I wanted to stop doing the other comic because I didn't know how the story would go on, and I was kind of giving up on it because, well, I didn't plan out the whole script. Do not begin drawing a comic without about 3 chapters in a prior to your drawing. If you do that, then the story wouldn't go that far, and also you would begin questioning what you have done every single time you draw a page. And this was the comic that I was talking about when I was at chapter 2. I began drawing the name changes. I began drawing Crestwood, also known as Crocs, which is, what is it? It's cross in Latin, and I had no idea what I was doing over here. I think I restarted it. I wasn't in that loop that I restarted the pages over and over again. I think I restarted it about 4 times. Let's see. So this is 1, 1, 2, 3. 3 times over here, and then another one, 4, and then another one, 5, and I think there's another one as well. Oh, and over here, another one. So 6 times I restarted the whole thing because I didn't like the sceneries and how I structured the pages. I was doing thumbnails and everything, but when you get in that loop, when you restart a page, you would just get in that loop of restarting every single time you don't like something. And well, from experience, try to have about 4 chapters having the thumbnails as well, so that you could go over it about, have 6 weeks dedicated to accomplishing the perfect start, so that you wouldn't have to go through that loop of going over and over your pages, restarting your pages. This is also on Webtoons if you want to read it. I think I have till chapter 4. Yes, till chapter 4. And the last page of it is this one. This was the last page because I had no idea where it would go next. But I wasted a lot of time on this. But, well, it's not wasted as such. It's more like a learning experience. So now I know how to structure pages, what to do if I have problem with an artist block, and also, well, basically how to write a good story as well, because this was going well, and I had well, for me, I established a good amount of subscribers. It was still little, and it had space for improvement as well, target audience wise. And also for promoting your comic, I guess I wanted to establish, well, how should I say this? For promotion, I wanted to get a hype started about this comic, but it didn't go so well because I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram and YouTube. I just had started YouTube as well, so the only hype I could manage to get was on Amino. But I started Amino about at the last chapter of this one. So when I posted the latest comic, the one I'm currently doing of Chained to Me, I had a bit of hype and audience already committing to reading it. So once you have established your scripture, your script of your comic, go into character designs. This is the current script. I still write it as a novel, or kind of as a novel, but I know exactly where they are located and how they are maybe even references, write some references of established shots and scenes if you must. Maybe of, like, for example here, so the taxi my parents had booked me was old. There was rubbish near my feet and it smelled awful. The road was also a bit bumpy and the engine roared for only one reason: it was dying. So here I wanted to establish a shot of the car driving away from a distance, and I remember seeing a scene in Once Upon a Time, the series, and I just wrote it over here. So then once I get to doing the thumbnails and maybe even doing the panels, I would just search for it. I think it was on the last episode of season 1, that the car drives away out of Storybrooke, and it was like the perfect scene, the perfect angle, and I used it as a reference so that I could create my own perspective and have one interesting panel. So what I was saying, creating your characters beforehand, obviously. So first I began trying to establish a style. So I began drawing other people's styles so that I could mash it up and with my own style and with my own, well, basically with my own style. So this was an adaptation of my old Chained to Me style. They had a bunch of lines under the eyes, and well, how was it? Oh, I have it over here. So they had a bunch of lines under their eyes, and their noses were a bit rounded, and so were the faces. And basically, there were little details and very simplified, but here I didn't want it to be simplified, so I took out some of the faces, some of the recognized faces, like of this one is from the comic on Tapastic of World of Strife. This was Apricot Cookie, also on Tapastic, and this was of Tamaytka. I think that's what her username is. I'll link it in the description. She has a YouTube channel and everything. And she uses, well, mainly the facial expressions. I really like the facial expressions she draws, and also the details she does in the background. So that's why I had chosen this one as well. And I try to mimic bits and pieces of, well, I combined the old style with Tamaytkas and tried to draw both girls and boys with it. And then I drew my main character, Candle, Candelista, trying to establish the proportions and even the details I would use in the overall style. And I created this one. So this is Candle with Mr. Knight, and how I would draw the shadows. I changed this bit of the shadows, but I kept these curves. I think it's called curves right now. I don't know. And I basically wrote down notes about the colors that I would use and the main features, so I wouldn't forget. So she has freckles, long black hair, green eyes, and bits of lines under her eyes, because she barely sleeps because of her nightmares. And basically, and she was, she doesn't like to wear skirts and fitted tops, so she hides her figure. She doesn't like to show it off. So basically that's Candelista's design. Then I began thinking about promotional material, so I had posted this one, the coming soon, when I erased the previous comic, so I still posted on the same link of Tapastic, of Chain to Me, and I moved the old version of Chain to Me in another series called Sketchbook, so I would still have the same number of followers, so that they will be notified as well. And I posted this coming soon, so that they would know that I would restart the comic, and it would be, this time I would be committed to it. And also, when I did coming soon, they would know the basis of my style, which I would use, and that element of kind of like horror, because these are shadows and she's like falling on them, or, well, your interpretation. I had also designed how the every episode would be, so I would use the format of scrolling, so they would be elongated. Every episode would be elongated, and because it's on web, the ideal format is scrolling. So you would just scroll up and down instead of having one page and having a lot of information on that one square or rectangle. And basically you would have details, and well, let me show you. So it's up on Webtoons, and basically this is chained to me. So I have every panel on its own, and you just scroll up and down for it, and you have bits of information. And if, for example, over here, so he says, as if I need her permission, it has blank space, so you have to like keep on scrolling to get to the other scene. So you have that kind of advantage when it comes to having a scrolling format. I had also designed over here. I had also designed how I would do the support me bit. So this is the support me bit. Want to support me, my social medias, and then I write store coming soon because I just opened it. So this was I think this was of this Sunday. Store coming soon. I had just published it, I think 2 days ago or one. I think yesterday. I think I published it yesterday. Anyway, so these are the other characters as well. I had drawn the characters in an order which ones would be showing up first, so that I have ample time to draw the expressions and maybe even change bits and pieces. Because if you draw characters that would, well, if you have characters that are more to your liking and you start drawing them and they are shown in like chapter, let's say 10, you are wasting not wasting as such, but still you are putting that much effort into a character which would be later on shown when you should be drawing characters that would be in the next chapter. Say you're on chapter 2. If you don't have the characters established of chapter 3 and you're drawing characters of chapter 14, it doesn't make a lot of sense and you'll be wasting a bit of time. You'll be wasting a bit of time drawing on characters which you can think of later on. And the characters that you would need in chapter 3, you still have no idea how they will be drawn.
So a bit of a recap. I had talked about how I started doing my current webcomic, what inspired me, and I talked about my many failures of doing past webcomics and why I stopped doing them as well. I had also talked about how I went about my character designs, tips on what best not to do for your webcomic, your script writing, and also the order of drawing your characters, character designs from my own personal experience, and also tips on why to choose certain formats for your comic. That is basically it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!